Do you see Dee Dee?
No, but I see here's here's Professora Hopkins. I'll admit her.
Okay. Okay, great. Let me make sure that Dee Dee has your Zoom.
Hola.
Hi.
Hi. So I'll introduce you. This is Professora Hopkins. She was my Spanish 4 teacher my senior year in high school. She's also the language department chair at Archbishop Mitty High School. And Mrs. Hopkins, this is Katie Kavanaugh. She started this whole Screen 360 TV that we're going to talk about today. So thanks so much for joining us. It means so much.
No problem.
Pleasure to have Dee members who are to join us this morning too. So you can just a moment here. Such a good job in inviting people properly.
It keeps going in and out. My internet connection is not stable.
There we are.
Did you get a chance to look at the website?
Just a little. Just briefly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was just my first question, and I know that you probably haven't looked at it that much, but
Mm-hmm.
if there's an international film that you would want to show your students, or that maybe you'd want to show your family members, what would you think would best supplement the film in order to best show it? Would you want like a vocabulary list where we translate specific words from Spanish to English, or would you want maybe um, doodling form where maybe we ask students certain questions in Spanish, or what would you want to go along with the movie to show to your students?
Probably all of that. Currently, we've just introduced, I don't know if you're familiar with something called Edunovela. They're a company based out of Santa Barbara, and they put mostly telenovelas, like soap operas, and they're leveled, but they're real soap operas. But with each episode, there's like cultural activities, there's vocabulary. The students watch the episodes, they can slow it down. So what we do to prep for that is the one we're watching, because it goes along with the play we're reading. I'm kind of supplementing history where it's set in time, but a lot of language beforehand so that they're not frustrated when they go in to watch it. I think the problem as well is if there's subtitles, they get lazy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even try and understand, or I'll do Spanish with Spanish subtitles, because sometimes the seeing as well as the hearing, that helps them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you really have to do, well, depending on the movie and depending on the content, you have to do some pre-work, a lot of pre-work. Otherwise, it's just kind of frustrating for them. So kind of all of that, yeah.
I'm interested in the pre-work, but I want to ask first, Jack, if and Professor Hopkins, would you mind if we record, and it'll be useful for us to present to the other team? Thank you. Jack, will you hit record?
I think it's been recording.
Oh, it has. Oh, sorry, I see that up there. Okay, very good. I'm curious about the preparation work that you have to do with the students or on your own.
So I prepare stuff for them, or as a team we do. I mean, it's like any other class. You don't just go in and do something. There's, like if you're reading a novel, there's always prep work before, like the pre-reading, and then you break something down. Especially with movies, because listening for some students is the hardest piece, especially when they're listening to native speakers. And in a movie or a soap opera, they don't slow anything down. So they're emotional and everything goes faster. There's dialects, there's accents. So it's a lot of prep with that. So it may be if we're looking at something set in a specific country, we'd have to look at some specific words that are used in Argentina, for instance, that we wouldn't necessarily look at otherwise. Or culturally, what's going on here, because it's not, a lot of language is culture too. There's a word used in Spain that wouldn't be used anywhere else because that's something that happens there, or there's a word used in Spain that's offensive in Mexico. So you kind of got to know your audience and where things are set. So there's a lot of social cultural building in of that aspect, because that doesn't come through necessarily when they're watching, or they see stuff but don't understand that, is what I think. Yeah, language is easy. You can load them with language. Oftentimes I would say it's explaining the context and giving them an idea of that, and the cultural piece that is kind of more important in a way.
Do you show films a lot in your classes?
Not too much.
Hmm.
We do little things. I mean, if you remember our classes, Jack, though, that's mostly because a class is made up of so many pieces. There's never really
Hmm.
just one thing.
Yeah.
So that's why this Edunovela works really well, because each episode is maybe 5 minutes long. So it's little pieces. You can do a bunch of episodes if you want to at one time, but I would say in class, we never spend usually more than 20 minutes on one particular activity. That would be the absolute maximum on an activity. And in an 85-minute class, I probably do at least 10 different things.
Hmm.
So, to keep the pace going, otherwise it just gets stagnant. With a movie, I think if something goes along with what we're doing,
Hmm.
it would be, again, we'd probably do pieces of it. We wouldn't do the whole thing in one, but we cover a lot of material too. So that's the other piece. So there's, it's always moving. There's so much going on. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it'd be helpful if maybe we had movies that were short,
Hmm.
more like clips, like maybe 5 minute international clips or 10 minute?
Yeah, I would say anything up to 20 minutes even.
Okay.
And the other thing is, a lot of times we don't show movies just because it's like, it's just a movie they've seen in English. There's no real value to it. If it's something that's based in these countries and it's cultural and
Hmm.
it's current, that
Hmm.
would be amazing, because,
Yeah.
I mean, now we have access to everything current, but that's something we'd be more interested in, rather than just saying, okay, this is Spider-Man in Spanish. I mean, there's just no point to that, right? So it would be, anything that's got cultural relevance that can go enhance what we're doing. Everyone would be open to that, I think. Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. Do you suggest that they watch films outside of class, and you make recommendations?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think kids really do, honestly, but with Netflix now and the access to everything, they've got so many platforms they can access. Kids will watch less of movies, and I think they go for more like shows. Again, I think it's the attention span, it's shorter. An episode can be 30 minutes or an hour rather than, and they tend to as well, I feel, while they're watching something, they're doing something else. So they're always multitasking, this generation of students, I feel. Um, and, I recommend things, and there's so much out there that they can, I mean, I pretty much say, I don't care what you're watching or listening to. If you're doing something in the language, it's helping you. So if you watch something you're interested in, they're going to enjoy it more. They're going to get more out of it. So when I'm not assigning it, it's like, do whatever you want. Listening to music, listening to the radio, watching the news, anything. Any input is good input. So, yeah. And the Edunovela thing I keep mentioning, they do watch that by themselves at home as well.
Hmm.
But that's a whole platform they go into. They have a login, they go in. You know, it's all set up for them, and I can limit which episodes they watch and what things they do.
Mm.
Okay. I was gonna ask you, I know this is a loaded question, but what do you think is the social, cultural, and educational value of Screen 360 TV where we could bring in different international films? And also, how does a system like Screen 360 support or distract from the necessary address of racial equality in our country, especially right now?
I think it could only help. Like, we could use every resource we can get right now.
Yeah.
I feel we already, in what we teach, because we're talking about so many different cultures, so many different countries, so many different backgrounds, we
Hmm.
do some of that. But like I said, there's just not enough. There's always space to add more, especially keeping current with things. I just think it'd be wonderful, really. I mean, and with our classes too, they don't stay stagnant because language is always evolving, culture is always evolving. So, it's not like we're teaching World War II, which is not going to change now. It's something that keeps moving. Today and another so many words will get added to the Spanish language and some will disappear, especially with technology, especially with anything new that's coming up in the world. So, and that would be something that would keep updating and be current too, which is super for us, but being current and accurate and authentic is really important.
Do you think that Screen 360, do you think that the language department at Mitty or other private schools, would they be interesting in using it at all?
I think the interest would be there. I think it would depend on cost,
Hmm.
quality. Um, we try different things. We're always trying different things. I think right now, throwing in something else new into the mix would be a little scary for some people because we're probably going back to distance learning when we go back in August. Probably, I'm thinking through this first semester.
Hmm.
People are already kind of dealing with that transition. We're switching from the Moodle My Mitty platform to Canvas.
Yeah.
So I think if it's easy to use, it'd be okay. But
Mm.
if it's complicated right now, throwing another big new thing, probably not the best timing. But they'll see the value in it, and I think they will be interested in it.
Hmm.
It's just right now is a little crazy. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
How much do you think would be the right value for, because I know Netflix is about $12 a month, and I know you said you're using Novella or
Hmm.
that service. How much do you think would be the right price range for people to have it be accessible to people?
I think most of the things that we have, because now, it's not just the things kids have to purchase or on their resource list are not just textbooks anymore. So it would kind of, I would say the average of most of those extra pieces that aren't textbooks, whether it's the Novela, we use Yabla, I would guess like about $10 a student is what we're looking at because it's almost like it's an extra ancillary item, you know. Some of these places it's cheaper because we have a lot of users. Um, it depends. The nice thing I'm thinking with this product too is it could be for any language because we have Spanish, French, Mandarin, and sign language. So if it's across the board all the languages, that would be even better.
Hmm.
So that's usually most of those things are about $10 a student, I would say. Yabla is way more expensive, and we kind of cut back on that because it just wasn't worth. Well, with Yabla, we had to separate by language, and because we have so few French students, the Spanish was having to kind of support the French, and it just, so it kind of varies.
Interesting. How would you recommend Screen 360 to get more teachers engaged? How would you sort of market it to get more teachers on board?
I think, having someone come show them everything, people
Hmm.
want to see it. So having an initial presentation about it and then time to play with it, time to follow that up then again with questions and how does this realistically look? I mean, the piece to distance learning is that's something else that would be really helpful to have right now because, we're looking, because we can't do a lot of the fun things remotely, we're looking to kind of add in things that will, because you know what it's like, we're used to playing games, we're used to moving, and a lot of that is limited with doing distance learning. So we kind of feel already that we're limited. So in some respects, that would be another piece that would really help supplement and add some engagement value for everybody. But I think, yeah, it would have to be, they'd want to know what it is. They'd want to play with it, talk about it.
How would you imagine the engagement and then there being a task given to do outside of the engagement and then bring back in to present to other students, for instance? So a project-based learning intertwined with Screen 360 TV. How would you think that would work?
I mean, we kind of do some things like that already, so I think that would be,
Sure.
totally doable. I mean, we kind of do that anyway. It's just changing whether it's a movie, a novel, whatever it is, we do the kind of same thing. So I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay. Do you think? Sorry, go ahead, Dee Dee. This is Dee Dee. She joined.
Hi.
She's a high school teacher herself.
Right. I have a question. In terms, let's say, of language, would it be helpful or desirable if with the films that were chosen were matched along the AP themes, let's say, so therefore they would be relevant to an AP Spanish class or whatever kind of class? Would that be helpful?
I think it would definitely be helpful to know to have it organized or listed by theme. That would be helpful. It would be really helpful to have a mix, whether it's for Spanish or French of different countries and accents. That would be very helpful for AP too, because everything's thrown at them. Well, and for other, it's not just the AP. All our students end up going all over the world, so they need exposure to all of that. My only worry is with a lot of the Spanish movies is appropriate content as well, because A, it's the age, and B, we're a Catholic school. So that, we have to preview everything, and that's a huge piece of that would be kind of a real concern that we'd have to, really think about. And just the nature of a lot of Spanish movies, there's, just when watching the news, it's more graphic than it would be if you're watching the news in the US. And so there's some kind of sensitive issues there. But I think, if it's leveled too, because, the difference in whether this is something like a Spanish 2 class would be looking at as opposed to a 3 honors as to an AP, that's, that's something we'd have to figure out too.
Right, and per class. Sometimes a program note isn't sufficient. We're talking about that, so that's great feedback. Thank you. Might that involve previewing the entire film in advance?
Yes. I would never play anything I haven't seen the whole thing before. Yeah. No. Yeah.
And length of film would matter, right? I mean, you would want it to be short and, specific, let's say. Yeah.
Well, that's what we were saying. I mean, I see the value to watching a full-length film. It's just the way our classes run, we'd never just have the kids sit down for one whole class period and just watch a movie. So even if it were a full-length film, we'd probably break it down into, say, 20-minute segments or so, or maybe 30, because that's the other piece. We don't just watch the movie. We talk about the movie, we prep about the movie, we talk about what came up in the movie. So there's a before and after too, which gets built into that. So it would, yeah. So I don't think the length is super important, but it would be nice to have a mix of lengths too. Or, because we do things in class, but also things they can do independently. That would be nice too, especially for the AP kids having some of these resources. So, we're not going to get to all these, but if you want to go and practice with this, that would be wonderful. Yeah.
Do you think if we had themes, a lot of people have been saying this, but maybe breaking down, if we have a catalog of international films, do you think themes like maybe we have one theme where it's history and one theme where it's relationships and learning about how to deal with different cultures and relationships, and maybe another theme about social issues and racial equality? Do you think that'd be helpful to fit in the curriculum if you're
Mm-hmm.
learning about history of Spain, or and then maybe the racial kind of learning about racial equality? Would that
Mm-hmm.
be helpful too, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to have themes and then good descriptions too,
Hmm.
of those pieces. Because I mean, like history is like, oh my gosh, there's so much. Whereas, I don't, you know, or film. I mean, it doesn't all have to be. I think a mix as well of deep topics plus fun topics. Just about whether it's about fashion or if it's about photography, or
Hmm.
we don't just want to be hammering about the history of Spain or racial inequality. Like it's everything. So we kind of mix it up too.
Yeah.
And most things you can pull anything you want into it. So that's helpful.
Hmm. Interesting.
If I were you, you could actually. I mean, if you write down and go look at Yabla
Hmm.
and Edu Novela, so it's EduNovela, and just look at how they kind of, I don't really care for Yabla all that much, but at least you can see what they do in terms of themes and,
Hmm.
that kind of thing. All of their stuff is very short, but, that would just give you some kind of ideas of the other things we've been using. Edu Novela is really good. I don't know what you can actually look at preview-wise, but they are really good about supporting the product with activities, and it's not just what happened. It's making them make connections and critical thinking. So it's not just fill in the blank. It's speaking about this or looking up, researching about something and how do you connect that to current. Like this is set in the 1930s, but how do you identify with something that's happening now? So it's engaging and it's very interactive. And our kids are used to interactive, right? We don't just stand and lecture and then they fill out stuff, and they don't just use a textbook. So they're used to us kind of doing these kind of things. And so it would be the same for anything that we use.
Hmm.
Does that site have films? Is that what you're saying? It also has films?
Yeah, well, one has kind of clips. They're not films, they're more clips, short videos from all over whatever language is spoken, from all the places that language is spoken, different countries. The other one is based in Santa Barbara, and it's mostly soap operas. They are actual soap operas, so the kids could watch them by themselves if they wanted to on Netflix, but then what they've done is they have a regular version and then they have a Catholic school version, so they've taken that. And then they've built all of these activities, and they've broken the episodes down into smaller segments too, so that like I think the longest one would be maybe 5 or 6 minutes. They're usually 2 or 3, but so they'll have how do they call it? Do they say like episode 1 and then like 6 segments maybe, and then 2, 3, yeah, something like that.
Do they offer learning materials for each episode
Yes.
or suggestions? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They have preview things, so they give them a preview of what's going to happen. They give them some language that would be very specific, like this one episode we watched, someone was using, I don't know, typewriter. So a typewriter is not a word that people use anymore. So, very specific to that episode, they've thought about how kids aren't going to know that word. And then
Máquina de escribir.
Yes, máquina de escribir.
Escribir. Escribir.
And so, or, it was setting this woman was a seamstress. And again, seamstress isn't, I mean, they get used to that word because it's going to come up a lot, but initially, they might need the word for like pin or needle or thread. So they think about what is specific vocabulary here that's not necessarily going to be something we're really teaching on a vocabulary. So I like that aspect too, because it's the culture, but it's also they get extra language. They don't need to memorize it, and we're not going to test them on it necessarily, but it's it's supplementing with extra stuff. And I think sometimes they get engaged with that because they know it's just for enrichment and not for assessment. So I like that piece too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, there's all these activities. Like I say, there's probably 5 different things I could choose from to do with them afterwards as activities that I don't have to make myself, or I can adapt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really helpful too.
Was Yabla the one where it was almost like you watch interviews and then you fill in different vocab words?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it was interviews. Sometimes it was one person speaking. It was a mix of things, but they all felt kind of very contrived. And
Yeah.
I mean, they were authentic in that they were real people from these places speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, there was some real, you're just like, we're just talking about kite surfing just to talk about kite surfing. It just didn't feel, I
Yeah.
don't know. There wasn't much substance to it, I didn't feel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's value in watching a movie and then maybe watching it synchronously with a classroom in Spain and then chatting with them in Spanish? Do you think that'd be very cool for the students to experience?
I think that would be amazing. Yeah. That would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out where we have like the application, and while you're watching the movie, you can also chat with someone watching it in another classroom, in another part of the world, which I think would be so cool to have in a classroom.
It would be cool, just the time change, the time thing.
Yeah, yeah,
If you can get that piece. Luckily with
Do you
Spanish,
have
it's
a
all over the world in different places, so that should be
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Do you have a sister city or sister class school program now?
No.
Has it ever been entertained?
I think people have done kind of pen pal things, but not. Now that we have, the minute the kids got an iPad and internet access right in front of them, it opened up so much that it wasn't, those traditional kind of connect with someone and write letters to them kind of all disappeared, I feel.
Yeah.
But I think that would be nice to, especially now they can easily speak with these people. And for me, having them connect with other kids their age, who are really speaking the language, and they can talk about the same things they have in common and what they like and what's going on around them. And that would be fabulous, because that would be really, you're really having a conversation with someone right now who's in this country, who's really experienced in this, and they're really using all those words that she says we have to use, and they use subjunctive, and oh my God, they do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
would be amazing. Yeah.
Authentication. Yeah.
Yes,
Very good.
exactly.
hmm
Nice. Good. Good.
Mhm.
Jack, how's our time?
Oh yeah,
We
we're coming at 10:30. I was just gonna ask, would you recommend anyone else for us to talk to? Do you think?
Within Mitty, you mean?
Or anyone else you may know that may give us really good feedback.
Um, yeah, why don't I just email you who I can,
Okay.
and the email addresses. I'm stepping down. I've done like 10 years of being department chair, so I am done in a couple of weeks. So the new person,
Congratulations.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of ready. Yeah. So, and I'll be mentoring that person anyway. So she's going to be kind of probably, this might be something she would say, can you just continue to connect with you if it was something we were going to pursue, just because she's going to have everything else to figure out.
Yeah.
But like a couple of other people in my department, I've got some friends in other schools that would maybe look at that for you. So yeah, let me think, and I will come up with some people for you.
That's great.
Nice.
Do
Thank
you
you.
mind me asking who's becoming the chair? Is it a current teacher or is it?
Yeah. Do you know Stacy Allen?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because she was a student government. I think she still is a moderator, student government.
She was. So now she can't when she takes on this. So
Oh, okay.
she won't be. Yeah, this is too much to do other stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you so much. It's
Oh, you're
great to
welcome,
see
Jack.
you.
It's
Thank
nice
you.
seeing you too. And just let me know. I mean, I'm not going anywhere for months, it seems. So if I can help you with anything, I'm more than happy to.
Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
would you like to know the outcome? Like how this?
Yes. Yeah, that
Okay.
would be really cool.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I hope your
Jack.
family's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks
Bye.
very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
All right. Do you by chance have a text from Rochelle?
I don't know. I don't have my phone. What did Rochelle say?
Oop, I don't have any sound. Oh, that's why. Earphones. Nothing from Rochelle. Okay.